Well, one annoying house guest is out. An entire house full to go, however. So we return to talk about the Big Brother 24 live feeds and this cast. My parents never taught me that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. So all season long, I will have nothing nice to say about this cast and how they're playing the game. It's not completely true. It won't be nothing nice. I do have some people trying to play the game this past less than 24 hours on feeds, since feeds have been back after Paloma left the game. But before we get to that, let's talk once again why this cast sucks. Like, some people might not like them on a problematic level. Some people might not like them because they're all, very just annoying in general. Some people might not like them because they're really bad at the game or not even trying. We are seeing an extremely low level of gameplay from this cast. And after last week's events, it should be no surprise that this is such a low level of gameplay because, take Paloma's issues aside. I'm not going to speculate what those issues may be. She's not even getting an exit interview, so we'll never know. So all the armchair psychologists will never actually know. So you take that out of it, and you still got the fact that Paloma was the youngest player in this cast, and yet she was able to create the entire dynamics of this cast. This cast let the youngest player dictate the dynamics of the house, and that is why I don't have a lot of faith in this cast. I think this is a prime example of a cast that wants to play with no backbone and follow the leader. We have players like Monty who want every vote to be a unanimous. I hate the way Big Brother casts this cast, and they give us bad gameplay because this is the way they cast. Now, Jasmine is the new HOH. Somehow, some way, she won a crapshoot despite spraining her ankle, as we saw on the episode. I am not completely gonna say that this ankle injury is as severe as she is acting it to be, because as I've talked about, Jasmine is very much like Raven from Big Brother 19. This cast has a lot of parallels to a lot of the terrible seasons like 15 and 19 and 21, 22. There's a lot of parallels to all of them. I've talked about some of them to 21. It also has that parallel to 19 where, the first week the entire house is listening to the youngest person in the house. That season they were all listening to the one returning player, Paul. But it also has this connection between Jasmine and Raven as they tell a lot of lies and they embellish stories and they make things out to be more dramatic than they actually are. So I would not be surprised if Jasmine milks this ankle injury for all it's worth. If she milks this for several weeks and is able to stick around because of it, I will give her some props. I will say that is, a way to play the game. Make the cast feel sorry for you because you hurt your cankle. And before we get to this HOH, let's talk about Daniel for a second. Another example of how poor this cast is Daniel played his entire first HOH scared and spineless and didn't want to get a lot of blood on his hands, only for all three of his nominees to stay in the game. I thought it was what he deserved for coming in here as an alleged superfan and trying to play as safe as fucking possible. His spineless HOH got a lot of blood on his hands. I do think with Jasmine as HOH, though, he might be able to wash some of that blood off. Though I don't think Michael, or maybe even Taylor, if she sticks around, will forget that completely. But with Jasmine as HOH, at first it seemed like it could be more of the same. Jasmine has this complex with Taylor. For whatever reason, I'm not going to speculate today, because I have a lot of videos to do. But I think that Jasmine is super insecure, as I've talked about before. Jasmine, deep down, hates herself. That's why she embellishes all these stories. That's why she thinks Joe is always flirting with her when he's not. She keeps making Joe out to be creepy for doing this because she's married. Very odd behavior there. Yeah, she's just always desperate for attention, and that is why I'm not completely convinced that her ankle injury is that severe. But thankfully, Amira, who is one of Jasmine's closest allies, if not her closest, got in her ear because they were all in the HOH room up into the wee hours of the morning talking to Pooch, Pooch talking their ear off. And as Michael stated, Pooch doesn't talk to people, he talks at people. And that is what he was doing in this conversation. Agreeing with Jasmine that Taylor needs to go, just put her back up there. Pooch volunteered to be a pawn and be a pawn with somebody else. That way they can backdoor Taylor. But once Pooch left the room, Amira said that if Pooch is on the block with anyone, she's going to vote Pooch out. That is because Amira has caught Pooch putting himself into at least 4 alliances at this point. It's funny because Amira herself is also in a lot of alliances. So it's hypocritical, but it's good gameplay by Amira. Amira making a lot of good points that, why would they keep going after Taylor? Taylor is a shield. If this early in the game, with this many people left, if at least half the cast isn't realizing what a shield could be in this game, because usually at this point in the game, there could already be a bigger alliance. There's not really that big of an alliance. It's just the house so far wants to vote with each other, and it's like BB19. But I'm saying that if at least half the cast doesn't see that Taylor could be a shield for them, why are we even playing the game? That's why I say so far the level of gameplay is so low that they can't even see the basics. Now, players like Amira are starting to see that. Michael and Brittany need to see that. They see it too because they do realize that they're at the bottom, although I think they think they're better off socially than they actually are. Now, Jasmine, it's taken a lot of talks with the other girls about going with this plan to try and get Pooch out, make him think he's just a pawn, and then he really gets voted out. Jasmine still also wants Taylor out, of course, because she hates Taylor because she ain't Taylor. She has the tunnel vision to get Taylor out, even though I think that is absolutely a disaster for her game. Taylor would work with Jasmine. This is a one-sided rivalry. And what also makes Jasmine further look like an idiot is that she thinks she's close with all of these girls. She thought she was close with Paloma, and she thinks she's close with Amira. She thought she's close with Alyssa. And last week, those 3 girls made that other alliance without Jasmine, with what at first was supposed to be Pooch and Monty and Kyle, and then Paloma switched out Pooch for Michael. But Jasmine doesn't even know this, so she's very oblivious to her actual place in this house. Unlike Amira, who's doing a really good job of getting in with everybody. Amira has one of the best heads in the game right now, I would say, for sure. Also a strong social game. I don't know if it's as strong as Kyle's, who is just continues to go completely under the radar and have a little bit of a relationship with everybody. But Amira also has a connection. There's this other alliance kind of with Daniel and Terrence and Nicole and Amira. Amira also putting herself with the old players in the house. So Amira's head is in the game. Jasmine is half listening to her, but also doesn't want to just put up 2 guys. Instead, she wants to put up Taylor and Pooch. Pooch still thinking he's a pawn. And Jasmine could have the backup plan that if Pooch wins the veto and comes down, then the house votes out Taylor. Although the house at this point is pushing for Pooch to go for the most part, outside of his bros, Turner and Joe. Joe eventually told Pooch that Jasmine has changed her mind and that there's not going to be 2 pawns on the block to backdoor Taylor. It's going to be Pooch and Taylor. That kind of has Pooch spiraling a bit. I think he will spiral more once he's on the block with Taylor. Hopefully that is the case. But I think Pooch has a decent shot of coming down. I think a lot of the guys would take Pooch off the block if they were to win the veto. Jasmine also even told Kyle to take Pooch down if he wins the veto. I don't think Kyle will be playing hard for the veto with the type of game he's playing. But then she also told Michael that if Michael wins the veto, to take down Taylor. So Jasmine trying to play both sides here. Honestly, not doing the worst job. I just feel like she's just a very emotional, tunnel vision player when it comes to Taylor, and her insecurities just get very old and she's very annoying. There was also a point where, like, very gross, where Jasmine, who's of course injured, has to hobble to the bathroom, but doesn't want Alyssa to leave the room while she's shitting. Like, I have a hard time. I don't even like to be in any bathroom with anybody when they're shitting, whether it's a girlfriend or family. I don't want to be there. But Alyssa, who's met this girl for a week, wants to be in the same bathroom as her while she's shitting. Disgusting. This cast is gross in every fucking way. It seems as though the nominees will be Pooch and Taylor. The feeds are off as I'm recording this. They're probably doing the nomination ceremony. Most of the house is targeting Pooch, but if Pooch comes off the block himself, then it seems the target will shift right back to Taylor. I don't know what would happen if somebody won the veto and took Pooch down. I assume Jasmine would put up Brittany regardless of if Pooch comes down or not. Although the women in the house, I don't know if they would go for that. They would try to pressure her into putting up another dude. I would assume, as some of the women are thinking, that there's players broing down, they're pretty clear that Pooch and Turner are a dirty duo. But we'll see. I am glad that at least some people like Amira are playing far higher than other players who aren't doing a whole lot of good gameplay. It would be funny if Pooch volunteered as a pawn only to end up being the target at the end of the week. It's very possible, but I still think there's a lot of ways he could come off the block and then Taylor's just the same target again, and we're all gonna vote with the house and it's gonna be unanimous. But hopefully that's not the case. We'll see. There's some players waking up, but still early in the week to see if that will stay the case.